Hello and welcome to a video I wasn't sure I was even going to do in the first place. This is a Clone Corner and an old versus new, comparing the Season 1 looks for the Bad Batch team compared to the Season 2 looks for the Bad Batch team. And we just got a trailer for Season 3 and I'm pretty sure they look even a little bit more different than that. But thankfully, we don't have a new tech to worry about, at least for now anyway. But we do have Season 1 and 2 looks for Hunter, for Wrecker, for Tech, for Ekko, and for Omega. I'm not showing Imperial and Republic Crosshair because that's said and done. We've already talked about those. But yeah, I finally got the Walmart exclusive like Bad Batch Season 2 wave, and I finally got the actual Omega, not what Amazon sent me. Yeah, this is what Amazon sent me instead of that. I got the... Jeez. Someone is not happy. I don't know if you heard those horns honking. Someone ain't happy. But anyways, yeah, I got scammed, but Amazon let me keep it and gave me a refund. So hooray. Anyways, yeah, I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised with this Season 2 Bad Batch team. So I was hesitant to get them in the first place because they were that, you know, Walmart exclusive upcharge of like a few dollars each. And I was just really wondering, do I really need them? Do I really need the same figures and just different colors for a team that I'm not super invested in? But I started to really like see pictures, photos. What? But I really started to see people's photos and videos of the Bad Batch Season 2 team in Black Series. And I'm really trying to still keep my Black Series clone collection complete. And I just kept seeing them and I felt that little bit of jealousy that told me, you should pick these up. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am absolutely glad that I did, because if you have any set of the Bad Batch team, in my opinion, make it the Season 2 set, because I feel like they took the original figures and just improved them in every way that they possibly could, and I'm very, very happy with this set. Even the Omega is actually a pretty good figure. They improved things I had issues with on the first Omega. So first and foremost, let's take a look at pretty much everybody's favorite, Hunter. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who are like, oh, actually, Tech's my favorite. But I think we all love Hunter, don't we? So I was starting to film this Hunter bit, and I was wondering, why does it seem like they're not really in focus? It was because the Omegas were right down there, and it was trying to focus. My camera likes focusing in on human faces. So, yeah, I had to remove them for now. But anyways, I wanted to really show what's new and what's old on these figures, because some of them it's just one or two things. But with Hunter here, it is crazy how much is actually new on this figure. So I did some looking before I started filming, and I'm pretty sure the head and the helmet is entirely the same between each figure. The backpacks are entirely the same. However, you can see the new one, it has a different deco, has some orange on it. The upper torsos seem to be entirely the same. However, the Season 2 look has that scarf added. Season 2 has new shoulder pads. However, it does seem like he has the same biceps from what I've seen. However, from the elbows down, he has new forearms. I'm pretty sure he has the same hands, though. He also does have the same little arm-mounted wrist blade thing for his knife. I'm pretty sure his like waist and crotch is entirely new. His thighs seem entirely new. I think he has the same knee pads. However, he has new legs for the shins. Even this leg, I'm pretty sure, is different than that leg. He does have the same feet. However, he also has this brand new, like, you know, hip strap. His brand new, like, belt with holsters for his dual DC-17s, which I think is very nice. He actually has, like, dual DC-17 holsters on that. Because sometimes with his Season 1 look, he had a DC-17 holster. Sometimes he didn't. And I think the Hot Toys figure, if I'm not mistaken, like, gave you an optional holster, if I'm not mistaken. I liked the Bad Batch, but not enough to get the Hot Toys ones. I'm sorry, you're not going to see reviews of them. At least not until I win the lottery or something, I don't know. Or I get 1 million subscribers. The YouTube algorithm blesses me, and I start earning thousands of dollars a month. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, like, the figures are very, very different. Number one, I do have to say, when it comes to the designs, Hunter Season 2 design may not be for everybody. Because he has a lot of orange now, and he has a lot of white and blue. I kind of wish we had a little bit more of a story as to why they changed to their deco. I mean, obviously, they probably want to look a little less recognizable. They don't want to carry around their Clone Force 99 emblems anymore because they're not a part of the Republic anymore. They're pretty much freelance mercenaries. These are their mercenary looks. So I do like the new looks. Hunter's is definitely the most, like, mix-matched. He doesn't really have a lot of symmetry going on in his new design. I guess he decided to ditch some old armor or something and, you know, just find what he could. I always wondered, like, when I saw the Season 2 trailer, I was wondering, do they have the orange to, like, honor Commander Cody? Like, was Commander Cody gonna die? And because Cody, like, formed the Bad Batch in the first place, you know, were they gonna honor him by adding this orange? But no, they added the orange without having any connection to Commander Cody. I just don't understand it, but maybe we'll see, you know, the different looks a little bit clearer for Season 3. I don't know how different they are. They looked a little different, especially Hunter to me, but we'll see. We'll see. But the figures themselves, you already know this original Hunter mold is one of my favorite Black Series clone molds. I love its repurposes as all of the Delta Squad figures, as the plain White Republic Commando. I love this mold. And honestly, having it like changed for the Season 2 look, I think is pretty spectacular. So I've been rambling quite a bit, but I already kind of got out of the way like the general design philosophies, so I don't have to cover that with each one. So removing the helmets, you can see I feel like the new one actually has a nicer face. I actually haven't even compared the faces on these yet. I feel like the new one's face has a little bit less like gloss to it. It doesn't have that Black Series gloss like the old one did. And I feel like the face print just looks better. I don't know, I'm digging it more. I just think it looks nicer. He has, looks like still the same kind of skull emblem on his head, but it's a little bit more yellow. Maybe the bandana's gotten a little bit more dirty. But overall, it's a pretty similar face. I definitely do prefer that face. I'm debating, like, displaying my Season 2 Bad Batch without the helmets and my Season 1 with. But I don't know, I really like this helmet. I mean, I'd have to have him hold it at least. Yeah, the helmets themselves, too, I'm really a big fan of. Hunter's always been my favorite helmet design out of the Bad Batch, and seeing it with this orange is just really cool to me. I really like the orange redesign of it. I mean, red from orange isn't that much of a departure, but I really appreciate the added darker colors, too. Something about it. It just looks nice. Really happy with the redesign. So the articulation's pretty similar on the new one. It does function ever so slightly differently because it has the new parts. But, you know, he's got the ball joint at the head, ball hinges at the shoulders. He still has a nice elbow bend. He does have his dual DC-17s. And again, just like a lot of these Black Series clones, the left hand doesn't have a trigger finger, so you'd have to cut that if you want to. And I haven't cut it yet on my new Ekko. I think I cut it on my old Ekko. Sometimes you just have to cut the trigger finger. I can't talk, man. Sometimes you just have to cut that trigger finger for it to look real nice. He does have a really nice ball joint at the waist, though. I kind of feel like that's better than the old one. I mean, the old one's still very good, but something about this, it just seems like it has a really nice range of motion. Because of his holsters, his legs do feel a little bit more hindered because he does have some actual stuff strapped to it. But it doesn't seem that much more hindered. I'm pretty sure you could still have him kneeling. Yeah, you could probably still get him kneeling. You know, he's not that hindered. He does have new ball hinges at the knees because he's got new legs. He still has thigh swivels, so that's something to keep in mind. And he still kind of has like the same sort of hinge and pivot at the ankles. So overall, it's pretty similar. He does have the same kind of style of shoulder pad as like Black Series Stormtroopers, where it can kind of swivel on its own, but it also moves out of the way independently because it's a softer plastic. So overall, I really do like this Hunter. Out of all of the new figures, is it my favorite? I don't know, because one of them makes a very necessary change that I think we really, really needed out of the Bad Batch team. Wrecker, then. Shockingly, there is very little new with the new Wrecker. He still has the same helmet and he still has the same backpack. I do believe he has a slightly modified torso armor. He does. He does have new torso armor. You can see it has a little bit more like fabric to it instead of armor. So he does have a new torso armor. He does have a new, like, you know, waist and crotch. But everything else is absolutely the same. He has the exact same legs. He has the exact same arms. He does also have new shoulder pads. I almost forgot to mention. He does have new sculpt for the shoulder pads. So he doesn't have too much brand new. He also does have this holster, which is very nice. But I do think what he has new is very cool. I absolutely 100% prefer the Season 2 look and figure for Wrecker. Because not only do I really like that splash of orange, it makes me just enjoy the design a bit more, but also it was the same price as the other ones. It was still in a larger box, and if you want to see those boxes a little bit more, check out my live stream I did where I unboxed all of these. But it's the same price. That was amazing. Still the exclusive price, but the fact that they didn't make it like the deluxe price was just really nice. And they did make one very nice change to this new Wrecker too. And I hope they carry this forward if they continue making figures with this weapon. So he has this holster right here. You untab it. And as you can see, he has his Republic Commando rifle. But it's looking a little different this time, huh? It's looking a little different. It's almost like they finally made it the proper scale it needed to be. Because guess what? They did. This little tiny thing, so tiny this old Wrecker can hardly hold it. Look at that difference. They actually upscaled the Republic Commando rifle. That's insane. I'm so happy they did that. I'm so happy they did that. Especially for Wrecker, man. Because this little tiny thing with Wrecker, it doesn't look like a rifle. It looks like a little pistol in his hands. Like, it looks like a Magnum. It does not look like a rifle. He still does have the big old knife that you can sheath into the boot, which I really appreciate. And you can see right here, unsheathing his big old knife. Come on, there we go. Still pretty much looks the same. Same with Hunter's. His knife pretty much looks the same. But one difference I do want to point out again is with the heads underneath. Because I really feel like these Walmart ones, these Season 2 figures, just changed the head in just the most subtle way to just make it look better. Like, I really feel like it's just that lack of gloss just makes the new one look better. And I feel like they added a little bit more, like, paint definition to the head. It's hard to kind of pinpoint with Wrecker. I feel like with Hunter, it's a little bit more obvious. Maybe his eyebrows? I feel like his eyebrows are a little bit more distinguished on the new one. Like, it really just feels more like a, you know, big, beefy, mutated Tamora Morrison than that one. But still, you know, as much as Wrecker is pretty much my least favorite character from the Bad Batch, I still think this is one of the best head sculpts from the Black Series Bad Batch. Also, the Hot Toys Wrecker has a really amazing head sculpt. One thing I do like with both of these is that you can kind of put the helmet, like, partially on still. I think they did that with the Hot Toys one too. But I appreciate that because they kind of had him do the Lego Star Wars video game Chewbacca Stormtrooper helmet thing in the show a few times. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, his articulation's pretty much the same as the old Wrecker. Not really anything too different. I pretty much went over all of his differences. I really do, again, like his detail and his added paint. This is definitely my preferred Wrecker figure out of the two. I understand that Hunter decided to end himself. That's okay. That's the wrong character. It should have been Tech that fell over. Yeah, even the differences with the helmets. I almost forgot to show that. Of course, I already put them fully back on. I really prefer the new helmet. Just something about it. I just like the deco better. It just looks nicer to me. I really can't describe it. The differences between Wrecker's helmets between Season 1 and Season 2 are pretty much the slightest difference compared to all the other members of the team. But I just prefer it. I don't know. I can't describe it. So there is Wrecker. Definitely got to give it to the Season 2 figure. Not only for being cheaper, but also just being better. So let's take a break from the fully trained Republic Commando Bad Batch to take a look at Omega, the young member of the squad. So the first season Omega figure was all right. It was pretty much just essential to have the team complete. She had the little headgear on from pretty much the first episode and nothing else. I do actually have her with the Season 2 figures accessory because I feel like it just makes more sense for her to have like the collapsed one. But I'll get that out of her hand and show you the difference. It also came with like that mask and the like the little animal thing. I'm not worried about showing you that. Again, it's not really a review of, this old one. It's a review of this new one. So one cool thing about this new one is that it actually has like an homage to Boushh from Return of the Jedi. And I really do appreciate how like Boush's armor kind of has like this... Yeah, obviously I couldn't keep too straight of a face for long. Isn't it so funny that like the person that swapped this, I understand like Sprite from the Eternals because no one cares, but I guess they just bought the archive, like, Princess Leia, and we're like, oh, I don't need her accessories. I'm just gonna, like, use her for custom fodder, and gave the swapped figure accessories instead of, like, I don't know, you could have put, like, refried beans in there instead. Here's the proper Season 2 Omega figure that I got after the fact. So you can see I did decide to give this retracted version of the, like, arrow thing to the Season 1 version, just to kind of give it some differentiation. But the Season 1 version did also include the same accessory. And one thing I really appreciate is that they changed the size of it a little bit, number one. And number two, they added a handle. Because this thing didn't have a handle. She just had to hold it awkwardly from, like, right there. And it just made it so annoying. But they actually added a handle to this new one. Now, unfortunately, she doesn't have the perfect articulation to, like, fully, you know, draw back. I feel like if she had a deeper elbow bend, it would be possible. But it still looks decent in a pose like this. It still looks decent, but it's a little tricky. Maybe if you, like, squeeze her hand into there a little bit. Like, it looks decent. I'll give it that. It looks a lot better, especially than what this figure could pull off, especially since this one didn't even have, you know, a handle, really, on the old one. I really do prefer this new one, though. One disappointing thing, this new one also came with this head, which is very nice to have her, like, without the helmet. And I was hoping, like, oh, that's not too far off. I could give this head to, you know, this figure. And I'm sure you could, but for whatever reason on mine, when I try to pop this head off, the ball stays in the head, and I cannot get it out. I cannot. I tried. It's not happening. So, like, here's kind of an idea of what it would look like. It does look a lot better. I would like to display her like this, but unfortunately, it just ain't working out right now. Maybe at some point, I'll try to get that out somehow, but it's just in there, man. I can't really explain why. And again, do keep in mind the Season 1 figure did come with the like the gas mask and the little animal thing. I don't know its name. I don't care. But I'm pretty sure, for the most part, this new one is almost an entirely new figure. I think it has the same legs. Yeah, it shares the same legs. But other than that, I think it's entirely new. And that's really nice for it because it allows for, you know, some nice articulation. It's still, at the end of the day, an action figure of like a 13-year-old girl clone of a bounty hunter. So it's not going to be the most exciting thing in the world, but I really do appreciate her mercenary outfit for being a little bit more unique and having like this almost Endor commando helmet to it. And, you know, having like this little gadget thing right there and, you know, a little bit more of an actual costume. It just looks nicer. She does have a hole in her back because you can actually plug this one into her back if you want, and I think that's very nice that that's an option for you. I think it's supposed to go like this, isn't it? Yeah, so you can actually plug that in if you want her a little bit more stored on the shelf, a little bit more, you know, at ease. I really do appreciate that. Overall, it's a nice figure. It comes with a decent amount. Like, you can see, like, this is what you get with it. It's a decent amount, but for, you know, $25, it still seems like maybe something else could have been thrown in. What that would have been, I'm not exactly sure. But at least it's a better deal than the Phantom Menace Anakin. They could have included an alternate head with that, with the pod racing helmet or their Naboo pilot helmet, and they just straight up did not. And that was just sheer laziness on Hasbro's part for that release. So at least with this one, they did include the alternate head because they were like, hey, it's a small character. We've got the budget to include an alternate head. Why not include an alternate head? So I'm happy they did with this one, but they definitely could have included maybe a little something extra. But still, it's nice. I don't really have much else to say. It's Omega. It's, you know, take it or leave it. For me, I feel like if you have a Bad Batch collection, you need to have an Omega. She's just too important of a character. But it's figure-wise not anything really super exciting. Alrighty, going back to the armored members of the Bad Batch, we've got the first member of the team that kicked the bucket. Sorry to spoil it. It's been out for like a year already. He's dead, question mark. I don't know, we didn't see his body, so he's probably still around. That's just Star Wars for you. But yeah, the interesting thing about these figures is I looked them over, and their bodies, I am 99% sure, are entirely the same. There is no physical difference between their bodies or accessories whatsoever. So like looking at the deco, you can see he kind of traded out the, you know, the red for the orange. He has a little bit more like blue to his design too, which I think is cool. He, you know, has a little bit more gray, a little bit more darker color to him, and I really do like that. Like, especially like the blacks on the helmet instead of the grays really add a bit of contrast to the design. I do need to say, because I haven't really voiced it yet, the episode where Tech was like, not pod racing, but, you know, doing the race was the worst episode of the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, or the Bad Batch I've ever seen. I hated it with a passion. It was trash. It was the most generic, cookie-cutter episode of a racing thing ever. Like, oh, there's this race, and oh, there's a bet on the race, and oh, we got this good racer. Oh, but the racer can't do the race. So now someone that hasn't done the race has to do the race, but he's kind of good at, you know, certain stuff. So he's able to use his wits and use teamwork, and oh, he's able to win the race, guys. It's so good. Good job. Woo. Oh, man. I hated it. And it was absolute filler. The only purpose for that episode was like, hey, you should watch out for Sid. Maybe you can't trust her. And we already knew we couldn't trust Sid. We already knew. She's a bitch. No one likes her. I hate her. I hate Sid. Like, I never liked the character of Sid. Like, she's one of those characters you're not supposed to like, but I just didn't like her as a character. She just annoyed the crap out of me. So, hated the episode all around. I had to voice that. Absolute trash. And the figure, thankfully, is not trash, because even though everything is physically pretty much the same between, you know, the Season 1 and Season 2 looks, and I'm not really going to go over the articulation too much because I've already reviewed this figure, it does improve one thing that was desperately in need of improvement. And you probably already know, because I'm kind of late to the party on reviewing these, but with the old figure, obviously, you know, you have the helmet that flips up and down, and he has the, you know, the printed, painted visor and goggles. And you remove the helmet, and oh jeez, I always forget this figure's backpack never stays on. Does the new one's backpack stay on better? Not a little bit, maybe a little bit. But yeah, he doesn't have the goggles on the old one. The goggles are not on his head. And I don't think we ever saw Tech throughout the entirety of the show without his goggles. And I guess Hasbro was just like, oh, I don't know how we can do that. Even though Hasbro totally knew how to do that. Because come this Tech figure, I do want to zoom in and show, he looks amazing with like his eyes showing through the goggles with the clear plastic. Like, I knew they could do this. They've done it in the past, like, especially with Marvel Legends, like Ant-Man's and Falcons. Like, they've done this in the past, so I knew they could do it. So I was very surprised the original one didn't, but I'm very happy that this one did, even though this visor is like yellow now and that looks horrible. That should have still been metallic. But you can remove the helmet kind of by peeling it back. That's the easiest way to do it, at least for me. You kind of peel it from the back, and once you remove it, oh geez, it's bending my fingernails. It's kind of tight. You can see he has the goggles on. He has the goggles still on his head. They can do it. And they did it. Because a lot of people were like buying upgrades for the, you know, Season 1 figure with like goggles you could put on. But, you know, the goggles are still attached to this helmet. So it wasn't really working out too well. But with this new one, they actually have a new head sculpt where the band for the goggles is sculpted onto the head and painted on the back, but it has a clear plastic piece that attaches from the front, so you can still see the eyes through it, as well as having, you know, the goggles permanently attached to his face, because they were always on. And I do feel like the sculpt itself, like the face, is the same. They must have probably went into the digital file and modified it for the sake of these figures, and I think it worked out so perfectly. You could probably swap it too if you want, but do keep in mind, you know, the helmets have different decos, so you'd have to like repaint this helmet in like the Season 1 colors if you'd want to, you know, buy 2 of these and use one to upgrade your Season 1 figure. Do keep that in mind. You'd probably have to make a physical change. Now, that's one thing I'm thinking about with displaying my Season 2 Bad Batch without their helmets, because number 1, the faces look better, and number 2, Tech has the goggles. So I'm really thinking my Season 1 team's going to have the helmets on, and my Season 2 team's going to have the helmets off. Pretty much just because I really need to show off how nice this Tech looks with the goggles on. I personally don't think he's dead, by the way. I'm sure he'll come back. I mean, the next guy did. That being Ekko. Now, one thing with this figure, I think the release of this figure means that Ekko, as a character, has had the most Black Series releases for a Clone Trooper character. He's at 3. Because Captain Rex has 2. That's pretty much one of the only characters that has a duplicate, I think. Like, I'm looking up at my shelf. Like, Rex has 2. Crosshairs has 2. A lot of the other Bad Batch has 2. But Ekko has 3. So I think Ekko is the character with the most Black Series figures when it comes to the Clone Troopers. If I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, I'm looking at my shelf. I don't think I am. I don't see how I could be. Like, not trooper-wise, because I think that would probably go to, like, the plain Phase 1, because he's having a new, like, 3rd one come out, too. But anyways, yeah, Ekko. He has 3 figures. These 2 and his ARC Trooper design. And the differences between these figures is very, very slight. I was looking at these very closely, and at first I thought there was no difference whatsoever, but I noticed a couple things. And I actually just noticed one more thing literally right now. So if I missed anything else on the others, I'm sorry. So his legs. He no longer has, like, the robot hinges on his knee pads. He no longer has the robot hinges. He just has, like, normal Clone Trooper knee pads. So keep that in mind. He's just got normal knee pads. But he also has a new waist cape, what's it called? Comma. He does have a new comma and a new belt, which is the same piece attached to the comma. He also has new shoulder pads. Again, that's something else I've literally just noticed. He has new shoulder pads. There's a slight, like, added sculpt to them. Now I'm looking at Tech's and wondering if I missed anything. Tech probably has the least amount of change, but Ekko, you know, he doesn't have too much change, but what he has is, you know, it's there. So you can see the waist cape differences. He doesn't have, like, these extra straps anymore. He has, like, these added little ammo pouches. I'm assuming they're ammo pouches. He does have a little bit less of, like, a traditional clone belt, because that's a very, like, realistic Clone Trooper belt. Like, that's not a Clone Wars animated belt. That's like a realistic belt. And this one looks a little bit more Clone Wars animated. So I guess they kind of changed that up a little bit. He's got more, like, normal pouches instead of the clone pouches. He's got slightly different pouches right there. It's, you know, new belt. I do like the added paint on the arm, though. I like the orange. I like that orange area. He's got a little bit of red, but I like the orange more than the red. Even though Ekko still does retain a little bit of red, just a little bit. One thing I'm always surprised about with Ekko's Bad Batch design is that he doesn't have any blue. Like, boy's straight out of the 501st. Why isn't he repping any blue? I always wondered that about his design. I do think his original Bad Batch design was supposed to have some blue, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. He had like a prototype design. That's why this figure got delayed in the first place, because they changed it last minute for the show. And then he had like the design from the Clone Wars, where he was like a cyborg. And I kind of would like to see a figure of that still, too. I don't know. I still think Ekko's probably going to end up with the most Black Series clone figures. I think it's still going to be Ekko, because we still need Rookie Ekko. We still need 501st Trooper Ekko. We still need Bad Batch, like, Clone Wars arc Ekko. We still need a lot of Ekkos. Anyways, yeah, the figures themselves don't have a lot of physical differences, so going over articulation wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But we still need to talk about the heads underneath. They still remove in the same way. And I still have that question about Ekko. Like, again, I always thought his skin was pale because he was, like, sickly and, you know, frozen and malnourished. But I was surprised that he still retained the pale skin tone even after, like, being recovered and repaired. I'm still not really sure why he did. One interesting thing, I guess he decided to upgrade his little head nodes, because now they're gold instead of silver. He does have a little bit of added paint right there, a little bit of orange. I think that looks nice. And again, the head sculpt just looks better to me. I don't know why. I mean, the sculpt is the same, as I've established several times, but the print just looks a little bit better. Just a little bit. This is probably the closest mashup between both of them. Like, they still look pretty good between them, but the new one just looks that little bit better. Just that little bit better. I do need to, again, reiterate, I did cut the trigger finger on this old one, and I still need to do it on the new one. It just makes it so much easier to work with. Especially with, you know, Ekko not having a right hand. I'm surprised they didn't give him a left trigger finger anyway. The new one does not come with that weird claw attachment that the old one does. It does not come with that. So keep that in mind. I'm sure that was like a deleted thing from the Season 1 Ekko design, because not only did the Black Series figure have it, but also I think the Hot Toys included it, and the little Mission Fleet figure. By the way, that Mission Fleet Bad Batch set, that thing went on like super deep clearance. Like you could get all those Mission Fleet Bad Batch figures for like little to nothing. Like for $5 you could get like like $1 each on those little Mission Fleet Bad Batch figures. They're cute, but I don't know, they kind of seem like, well, where's the other, you know, little Mission Fleet clones? We just have the Bad Batch, really, and like, what, a Shock Trooper, a Rex, and a Reg? I'd like to see more of those. Anyways, little tangent over. We're pretty much done. This was a pretty long video, as I expected, but we made it. We got there. We have compared the new Bad Batch clones to the old Bad Batch clones. I showed off the new pieces, the new decos, the new face prints, some of the new accessories. Overall, if I could only keep one set of Black Series Bad Batch, it would be the Season 2 set. I just prefer the look. I prefer the upgrades. I just prefer them in general. I really do hope that we will see, you know, all of the Bad Batch Season 1 looks in the Vintage Collection. Because we just have Hunter from TVC in Bad Batch. We still just have Hunter. So I'm hoping we get to see more Bad Batch in TVC, because it's really struggling. I'm happy that we have gotten so much in Black Series, especially with, you know, Walmart just taking on the entirety of the Season 2 team as exclusives. And one good thing, even though it took me a while to find them in stores, which is why it took me a while to make this video, because seeing them, like, on the shelf and, like, on that little Star Wars shipper, that's what convinced me to get them. Especially, like, close to me, because I saw them, like, when I was visiting my brother, and I was not feeling spendy, but, like, seeing them close to me, I'm like, fine, I'll get them. So, I do have to give it to Walmart. They're pretty accessible to find, and they're also available on their website, at least last I checked, for retail price. So they're pretty accessible. A lot of the recent exclusives have been. I'm pretty sure the hardest one to get has been 5s, because it's 5s. Who doesn't want 5s? Everybody wants 5s. But even then, that one's been accessible too. I haven't seen 5s in stores, but I've seen Jesse, the Republic Commando, all the Bad Batch. It's nice. It's nice that Walmart is finally starting to figure it out, that they should stock their own exclusives in stores. I will acknowledge this. I have made entire videos saying how bad Walmart is with carrying exclusives. So when Walmart does a good job, I need to make sure I take some actual time out of the video, especially given this one's already super long anyway. I need to give Walmart credit where credit is due. They actually stocked these figures. Bravo, Walmart. Please keep it up. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Which team do you prefer? Do you prefer the Season 1 crew or the Season 2 crew? Or are you excited to see more of the Season 3 costumes? And will you also buy the exact same team for a third time? Will you buy Cyborg Zombie Tech if that's going to happen? I don't know. I kind of hope he's just dead, man. Like, we need to start actually killing off characters and having it have consequences. Star Wars doesn't do that anymore. They need to kill off characters, damn it. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Special shout out to channel members, as always. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.